What's up, guys? It's TechnoViking23 coming to you today with some Raid Shadow Legends, and I actually wanted to tell you guys about a pretty cool event that is going to be going on this week. Something nice that Plarium has actually done for us, and as you guys like to know, I like to give developers a lot of crap, but at the same time I also like to point out when they do something cool for the community. And this is kind of an event where a lot of content creators have been giving feedback on this, that they should try an event like this for a while, so it's kind of nice to see them actually listening to us for once. But basically, starting on Tuesday, April 27th, there is going to be a 2x drop event from the Fire Knight dungeon, which is pretty cool. And it's going to be for the stun set. If you're not aware of what the stun set does, it's basically a 4-piece set that has an 18% chance to place a stun debuff on the enemy. This does not require any kind of accuracy check. It can be resisted by immunity gear, but for the most part, this is pretty much a free stun ability that you don't have to have any accuracy for on your champion. So there's a lot of cool uses this set does have. It's great for dungeon waves. It's also usable in the arena, especially early arena, to kind of get a little bit of a surprise on your opponent. And just in general, it's a pretty useful set to have quite a bit of. So I'm kind of looking forward to this because I don't have a lot of stun gear on my main account or my free-to-play account. So it's going to be nice to kind of be able to farm up that set. But this is kind of, you can see here again, stun set, 4-piece set. That does do the 18% chance to place a stun debuff. So this is going to go live again Tuesday, April 27th. It's going to be live for 72 hours, so you have 3 days to farm the Fire Knight, and it's going to coincide with a Fire Knight tournament, so that's kind of nice. All the gear that drops for you there will actually get you points in that Fire Knight tournament. But let's go ahead and talk about the stun set a little bit more and talk about some of the champions you can use it on. I'm going to show you some footage here in a minute in the arena. We're going to go in and check it out there in Gold 4 Arena. Also, we're going to take a look at it in a couple of dungeons a little bit later on, so stay tuned for that. But I kind of like to use it on more unique champions. We'll talk about that in just a second, but some of the more common champions you're going to see the stun set used on are champions like a Bellower, who, if you look at his skills, basically every skill is an attack all enemies, so every time he uses one of those skills, he's going to have a chance to land that stun on basically every single enemy. And the reason stun is so cool is because basically that means the enemy is not going to get a turn after that stun wears off. It basically resets their turn meter and they don't get a chance to go. They have to build that turn meter back up again. That's why it can be very useful in the arena, especially if you're very early in bronze or silver and you're kind of struggling to get through with a traditional team. If you can put your stun set on a champion that does an AoE attack and an attack all enemies attack, then you can actually use that to your advantage to keep the enemy team from going, which is pretty cool. So Bellower's one example. Plenty of other champions you could stick it on. You could put it on a Senesha, you could put it on a Skull Crown. Battle Sage is an amazing champion for a stun set. She has an A1 that attacks all enemies, and you can basically just spam that over and over. Now, I haven't quite moved mine into one yet. I was using her in a toxic set for the clan boss, and I just haven't been able to get her a set yet that has a lot of speed on it, which I want her being very fast because I usually use her as a speed lead in the dungeons I run now. So eventually at some point I would like to move her into a stun set to be able to apply that stun on the dungeon waves. So it's a great way to mitigate damage. It's a great way to mitigate debuffs from coming onto your team. Having that stun set. So any champion really that is able to apply like that attack all enemies. Biggin's another good example. He's got a couple of attack all enemies. Sylar and the Dark Elves, another great example for that there. So all kinds of different champions that you can use the stun set on effectively. But let me also talk about something a little unorthodox that I've been trying, which you'll see a little bit of the footage here in a bit. We actually have our War Maiden set up in a stun set, and I kind of did this for two reasons. I wanted to kind of show how stun works in the arena, and War Maiden is a very accessible champion for people that are in early arena who may be struggling right now. And I know arena's a mess. They're hopefully going to be fixing the matchmaking, but I like to try to offer solutions too that might help you guys advance there. So what you could always do, if you're lucky enough to have been able to farm up a stun set, you can put your War Maiden, who is your defense down champion, who has the attack all enemies, on her A3, the Crumbling Blast. We basically have her in a stun set now, so what you'll see in the coming arena footage is when she opens up with that attack, It applies the defense down like it normally would, but every once in a while you'll get lucky and you'll land a stun on several of the enemies, which basically shuts them down for their first turn, and they don't really get a chance to go, which can help you disrupt their team and help you get that victory. So you can see my War Maiden here, she's pretty fast. What I did was I re-geared her into this stun set because I wasn't really using her in main arena anymore since I have Madame Ceres, so I decided to go ahead and re-gear her in this because I also use her in dungeons to drop decreased defense on the dungeon waves regardless of the affinity, which we'll see here in a little bit. So we've got lucky, we got a good pair of speed boots, we got a nice pair of crit rate gauntlets. Unfortunately didn't get a big speed roll there, but not too bad. We did get a nice shield again, not much on the speed, and then we got the weapon there as well. So I also wanted to make sure we got plenty of accuracy in that set because even though she doesn't need the accuracy to apply the stun set, she does need the accuracy to apply her decreased defense. So I wanted to keep that up above 200 since we are using her in level 20 dungeons and in some gold 4 arena once in a while when we test things out. So that's just to kind of show you guys that there. Another champion that I'm using on that can also be applied to early game if you're struggling in arena again or even in dungeons is Templar. Templar is a Sacred Order champion. He is a really solid tank. You can get him, I believe, from Valdemar Strait, the same stage that you farm lifesteal gear. Very overlooked and underrated champion you can get early in the game. He is a rare, again, campaign rare. You can farm, easy to get books for him. And the reason he's kind of cool is he has this taunt ability on his A2, which attacks 4 times at random. Each hit has a 25% chance of placing a provoke debuff for 1 turn. Now, provoke is something I want to talk about maybe in a separate video, but provoke is also a very strong and very underrated ability, especially when you get into the arena. If you provoke the enemy team, they basically can't do anything except use their A1 against you for at least a turn or 2, and that basically can also disrupt their team. Another great ability to have. Provoke tanks are really underrated in this game, and I absolutely love them. I use Angar and Coronar in my Gold 4 arena defense, and I get all kinds of victories because people just are not expecting that fast tank to come right out with that attack all enemies provoke, and it's just a great ability to have. This hits random, that's really the only drawback to it, but what's cool about him is he's got the provoke there, so if he lands the provoke, that's pretty cool. He also puts a block damage buff on himself, but since he's in that stun set, he can also apply that stun to any of the enemies he hits, so there's a chance that provoke doesn't land. He can also land the stun ability, so it doesn't matter if the provoke misses, they still aren't going to be able to take that turn, which is pretty nice. Now I have him built, again, pretty high accuracy, 379 for what I use him for. This is more of an experimental build, something I just did because I kind of had the gear laying around and I wanted to try this out. Because I was thinking, if this stun thing on top of his provoke works in Gold 4 on the main account, maybe this is a guy I could farm on my free-to-play and kind of use him in arena to help out there. So that's something you'll see here again in the coming arena footage. We're actually going to be using a team with War Maiden and Templar on it in Gold 4 arena just to try to show how the stun set can be beneficial in the arena. So stay tuned, guys. We'll go ahead and get into that arena footage, then we'll come back and we'll do a couple of dungeons with the stun set as well. Alright guys, into the arena we go with our War Maiden and Templar setup here. We are running this with Arbiter and Darkling as our nuke. You see here we do land a stun on the Seeker with that decreased defense, attack all enemies. So it's basically going to prevent him from taking a turn. You see when his turn meter goes there, it just resets. He does not get to take a turn, and we're able to pretty easily win this match. Now again, this is not going to work 100% of the time. It isn't only an 18% chance to land this stun. But you can see here again, we actually do land it on the Madame Ceres and the enemy Coldheart, which is great because it's going to prevent Madame Ceres from being able to take a turn where she strips our buffs and applies decreased defense. We try to get it here on the taunt with the Templar. You see he does land the provoke onto Madame Ceres, but that's really not going to make much of a difference at this time. We do keep the Coldheart stunned there as well, so she's not going to be able to do anything. Coldheart's kind of an odd pick for arena, but just kind of showing you guys how the stun set works here. Now in this match, it actually comes into play pretty importantly here because we are losing this. The Foley comes in, he throws out his nuke, takes out our Arbiter, so we're kind of screwed right from the get-go. But War Maiden lands the decreased defense on everybody. Darkling will survive long enough to land a pretty big shot here that takes out 3 people. And then our Templar actually does land the provoke on the Arbiter there, so she has to attack him, and then he counterattacks her and lands the stun. She loses that turn. War Maiden then lands a stun as well, and we're able to take out the Arbiter before she can revive her entire team, in which case we would have definitely lost that match. So kind of cool there. This is just kind of another match to show how the stun works. We've got a Kandrafon and an Arbiter here. War Maiden's going to land the stun on both of them, which is pretty cool. Going to allow Dark Lane to then come in and do her damage as usual, take out their Arbiter. I think we go for the provoke here with Templar just to see if it would work. And, that's kind of how it works there, guys. Alright guys, so you got to see a little bit of the stun set and some of the provoke working there in the arena. Very cool artifact set that you could use even sort of toward late game arena, even if you're in gold 4. It can kind of surprise your opponents, disrupt their flow, disrupt their speed tune with that stun if you can get it out fast enough and get it to land. Now, it is RNG, it's only an 18% chance. You can kind of increase that a little bit with some of your masteries. But again, don't rely on it as a 100% thing. It's just kind of a unique little aspect you can try. And like I said, that's going to be more helpful for you if you're in, say, like Bronze Arena or Silver Arena, and you're just trying to find a way to scrap out some victories. If you have that War Maiden you're using on that decreased defense, attack all enemies, or any type of attack all enemy champion that you might have in your arena team, put that sunset on them there. You get that extra 18% chance. You never know. It might stun someone on the enemy team and disrupt their flow and help you get the victory there. But now that we've seen that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump into dungeons. I'm going to kind of show you how I have this set up here. We'll start with Dragon's Lair. We're going to go down to Dragon 20. And my team that I have here, which is usually pretty reliable, I have Battle Sage. And again, this is another reason I kind of want to put her in a stun set because I do have her as my speed lead in the dungeons. We're going to have Syl of the Drakes there for her revive, basically, in case anything goes wrong. She's also got an AoE stun ability. War Maiden for that decreased defense on the waves, and she's also built with that stun set. And then I have 2 Cold Hearts to basically do a bunch of damage. So we're going to go in here and we're going to do a run of Dragon 20 real quick. Hopefully War Maiden will hit the stun, so you can kind of see how it works there. So you can see there she stunned a couple of the enemy mobs, which means that they will not get a turn. Syl of the Drakes then went on top of her and landed a bunch of stuns as well. So essentially this first mob, which can hit you very, very hard, is not really going to get to go at all, which is pretty cool. So we're just going to cycle through all our turns now here. We've got Battle Sage with the speed aura. Pretty much everybody on this team is 200 plus speed, so they're going to cycle through quite a few turns. You see War Maiden again. Unfortunately, it looks like she only hit 1 stun on the Horden on the right, but that's good because the Hordens hit very, very hard. So shutting him down is great on these Dragon 20 waves. Like I say a lot about these level 20 dungeons, the waves are actually more difficult than the boss most of the time. So it's like anything you could do to shut down those waves, mitigate that incoming damage, is going to be really, really big for you. So there you go. We blew through it pretty quick. Just having that stun ability, being able to drop on the mobs, keeping them from going, taking any turns at all, is pretty good there. Now, obviously, we cannot stun the dragon. So we're just going to be relying basically on our big defense coming in from Cold Heart here. I actually have built a 3rd Cold Heart on this account. I finally got a set of Savage Gear, so we're going to see how that works too. Now you see there we got a revive off of Syl. That's pretty much why she's there, because Cold Heart is a little squishy despite all the damage she can do. But this looks like it's going to be a pretty good run here, right around a minute 30, and that's kind of why I built this team, to try to get my dragon runs down a little bit faster. Before I was well over 3 minutes until I put my 2nd Cold Heart together and tried to work on this team here. But there you can kind of see how stun works in Dragon 20. Now we're going to go into Fire Knight, which is another tough Dungeon 20 with the waves. They're pretty rough. They can hit you pretty hard. We're actually running pretty much the same team. We've got 2 Cold Hearts. We have Syl the Drakes. Again, she's there for her stun and also her revive. Syl's one of the best legendary champions you're going to get in this game, and the fact you get her free to play, absolutely incredible. She's just an amazing champion. We do have Lysandra in the lead, speed aura, and also that affinity toward the force, and she's got the turn meter decrease to shut down Fire Knight. And then we're going to have War Maiden again. We're going to bring her into this dungeon. This is why I love War Maiden. She's a rare champion. You can farm from the campaign like your first week of the game, and you can use her even later on in the end game. So let's go ahead and jump in here. Go into Fire Knight 20. Now these waves hit really, really hard, so it's good if you can shut them down. I don't think she landed a stun there. Didn't look like it, but she did get the decreased defense. Syl of the Drakes thankfully did come in and land the stun, so you can still see how that mechanic works there. But again, this is just all about trying to get through these waves, trying to survive, trying to limit the amount of damage they can do. Because you can see there that, you know, that I can't remember what she's called, Preserver. She just came in there and 2-hit our Cold Heart, because that's how hard these waves can go. That's all. The other reason Lysandra's in here is for the turn meter decrease, so we can basically prevent them from taking turns. but sometimes they will get an attack off, and that's why we usually bring Syl the Drakes, or usually Raglan here. Raglan's good on Fire Knight too, because she has a 3-hit on her A1. But you can see here we're landing a bunch of those stuns along with our decreased defense. We're going to shut these waves down and not let them do too much. And again, it's all about getting to the Fire Knight. That's really it. Once you get to the Fire Knight, if your team is built well, you're not really going to have to worry about beating the dungeon. It's all about getting through these waves and doing whatever you can to limit their effectiveness. So again, that's kind of why we have War Maiden in that stun set. She throws out that attack all, decreased defense. Having that 18% chance to land that stun is kind of an additional bonus. It's kind of a neat thing to do, and gives you a little more utility out of that champion. So that's another thing that's kind of cool about some of those sets like stun is, even though it is a 4-piece set, if you get good enough substats on it, you can get a lot of utility out of those sets. So definitely, if you don't have a lot of stun gear sitting around, this 2x stun drop event is going to be pretty neat for the Fire Knight. I hope they do stuff like this more often. This is kind of a cool idea. I've suggested something like this, like for a 2x silver weekend or like a 2x arena medals weekend. It's just kind of cool to see that they're actually applying it in some form and having that double drop rate on a particular gear set. That's going to be pretty cool. It'd be nice if they did it on speed, but I don't see that happening, given the frequency that they sell speed packs and the analytics they probably have on how much money they make on speed packs. Those are one of the whale's favorite packs to buy, so I doubt we would ever see a 2x speed weekend or a couple days for that, but still pretty cool they're doing this. The stun set is a great set in this game. Fire Knight drops a bunch of good gear, and the ability to get more of that stun gear is actually going to be really cool. So there you kind of saw it in action again, Fire Knight 20. Unfortunately, we didn't get any good Savage gauntlets there, but that's kind of how the stun set works, kind of the mechanics behind it. Again, you know, it's not going to be a 100% thing that hits all of the time. It's just got that 18% chance to land, but that is really nice. And it's, again, a very cool set to kind of put with the champion to get a little bit more utility out of their abilities. So anyways, guys, if you have any questions about anything you saw in the video, feel free to leave it down below. Again, the 2x stun event is going to start Tuesday, April 27th, and it's going to run for 3 days. So make sure you get into the Fire Knight and farm yourself up some stun gear. Take advantage of this 2x drop event because it is pretty cool. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys are having a great day, and I will see you again next time.